thank you everybody for joining us. If you would like to, hello, Jessica from LA. Yes, if people
LA.
could put in the chat where they're all from, that'd be really nice. So we can just see um, how global it is. It would be awesome. Jessica's in LA. But yeah, everybody say hello, introduce yourself. We have Joanne here. And I'm going to introduce her. So Joanne lives you're in Noosa, so she's about 3 hours away from me, I think, in Queensland. Kai is from North Carolina, USA. Um, and we're going to be talking about how ACE Freework assists the canine nervous system for calm, rest, and self-regulation. Emma is in Melbourne. But before we do that, Joanne, do you prefer Joe or Joanne?
Joe. Joe's
Joe?
good. Yep, that's perfect. Thank
My,
you.
my mum's Jocelyn, but she prefers Joe as well.
We all like Joe.
Yeah. You're from Paw and Order, which is a awesome name. But maybe could you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll get on to the questions.
Sure. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, I've always been a dog lover. That photo you can see up there is me at 4 years old with my first black Labrador puppy, and I've got my latest black Labrador 7-year-old lying next to me. So we kind of
Oh,
go, there's a theme. So I think it was about 20 years ago, my daughter was doing a science degree and she was studying, one component was genetics. I was really enthralled. So I thought, I want to study this. So I did some online courses in genetics and then went on to do animal health and behavior. Skipped to a few years later, took on a guide dog for Guide Dogs Australia. And oh gosh, that was an experience which really highlighted that I really didn't know much about dogs and what the hell I was doing. So then they needed some more studies. So I did the Delta course, didn't completely finish that. Life experiences, life happened. Couldn't completely finish that. Then went on to look for more places to study. And I didn't want to go into the mainstream organisation, so I sort of did self study through Canine Principles, which is a accredited organisation over in the UK. I've done about 50 of their courses now, and that was good. You can pick and choose the ones you want to do. So that kind of got me into the UK side of dog training and the dog trainers over there, which led me to a seminar that I watched by Heart Dog, and I was watching all these amazing people on there, and I saw Sarah Fisher, who is the founder of Animal Centered Education, which is what I'm practicing now. And I just remember thinking, "Oh my God, this is amazing! Like this is why have we never heard of this before, and why isn't everybody doing this?" So it was from that moment on that really changed who I was, changed how I worked with dogs, actually changed who I was as a person, which was fantastic. Really taught me patience, taught me empathy, taught me so much. So it was only upwards and onwards and upwards from there. I'm just about to start module 5 in November. I'm now Australia's only certified animal centered education free work practitioner and have just recently gained my associate tutor level as well. Um, and what just quickly take you back to, I went to the APDT conference a couple of years ago, and Sarah was speaking there. They brought Sarah over. She was such a big hit. There was like jaws hitting the floor. People just couldn't believe, her ethos and everything about animal-centered education. And she'd line up out the door of people wanting to ask her questions after her lectures. And much to my, I think, horror, but also I was very proud, she sort of went, "Well, this is Joanne, and she's my only Australian student, so you can ask your questions of her." And then encouraged me to create Animal Centered Education Australia. They call us Australians over there. And so, yeah, she gave me the challenge to fly the ACE flag here in Australia. No biggie, right? And I'm trying my hardest to do that. And that's what brings me here today. And thank you, Ness, for this
No.
opportunity to share my absolute passion for ACE free work.
Yeah. So I think that leads us on to an important question for people that aren't sure. What is free work and where does it come from?
Okay, if you've got a couple of months, no, I'll give you the abridged version. It is, so what it does is it works around the principle that behaviour is deeply influenced by the dog's internal state, particularly the nervous system. So free work really works on the nervous system, and how does it do that? So we're creating like curated, bespoke, low pressure spaces for dogs filled with various textures, scents, objects, and the most important thing is choices. That's why it's called free work, because the dog's free to make their own choices in there. One of the only times that they're really able to do that, I feel. And of course, we're not saying we give them complete freedom, within the realms of, safety and things like that. But it does allow the dog to move around freely, explore, evaluate, make their own decisions without human demands or expectations. We have a saying in free work, NATO, no attachment to outcome. And we kind of believe the dog will tell us what's going on for them when they're able to move freely. And we also know that the freedom of choice, agency, autonomy is the primary driver of safety for all animals, and for dogs included. So that can help when they feel that ability to make their own choices, to have agency, autonomy. It helps to bring a dog down, helps to bring their nervous system down for perhaps, say, hyperarousal, high reactivity, anything that's caused by high hyperarousal and being in the sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze. It helps to bring them down. It actually can change the neural pathways over time in dogs. And sometimes with some dogs, I've seen self-regulation occur within one 30-minute session, depending on the dog. Every dog's different. So yeah, we just work with the dog in front of us. So basically what free work looks like, it is a series of stations that you have, like snuffle mats for the dog to sniff in. You'll have licky mats for the dog to lick. You'll have different textures on the floor. When Sarah first started free work over 20 years ago, she was working with dogs at Battersea Dogs Home and noticed a lot of dogs in the rescue were really reluctant to be touched. She was actually following then the work of Pam Ayres. I don't know what's her name, Jean Ayres. Sorry, I apologise, Jean Ayres, who was work. She's a occupational therapist, psychologist, and she was working with children with sensory deprivation, sensory issues, and noticed that different surfaces on the floor really helped those kids. So Sarah, being Sarah, thought, well, why can't we do that with dogs? And she did, and noticed that those dogs, when given different textures, different scents, different experiences, were much more accepting of human touch. So that's kind of where free work was born. So
Mm.
yeah, we do that, and giving dogs, again, the choice to move around those stations. Then we sort of bring in, when we notice what the dog might be showing us, we will add in different heights, different angles. Of course, there's some dogs who can't, we put food in those, sorry, we put treats in those. Small amount of treats. It's not a buffet. It's not an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord. It's just small treats, because we do know that the act of chewing and eating is very desensitizing for a lot of dogs. And we do know that the connection between the tongue along the spine to the tail is now a new, well, I don't know how new, but I'm finding out, connected. And they're talking about that in science at the moment. So licking is very important as well. Once you can free up that tail, sometimes you see a completely different dog. And yeah, so different heights, different angles, different surfaces. And yeah, and then we sit back and we watch the dog and let the dog be the pilot of that journey. And we're just there as kind of like co-pilots or ground staff, just keeping them safe. But we have a crucial part of free work is our observations, what we do. And we really watch dogs closely to see what they're telling us about their own bodies by their balance, their posture, what they choose to do, which they don't want to do. It's also, we don't lure dogs into things. It's all about, them choosing to do what they want to, which is really gives us a lot of information about the dog in front of us.
Yeah, we know that nose work is calming for a dog and it helps with anxiety, but there's
Mm.
no real choice in that, I guess. There's no autonomy. I've got a decoding fear and anxiety summit coming up. And this week I interviewed Dr. Carolina Westland, who's very big on choice and all that. And she was telling me a story, which is really interesting. I probably won't tell it as well as she did, but it's people that are terrified of the dentist way, going into the dentist chair and having work done to their mouth, to their mouth. Obviously, going to the dentist isn't that great. She said if they did this experiment where they gave the person the button, if you like, to have the drill on or off, and they were the ones making the choice to actually have it done, having the drill or whatever they were doing. And it actually went so much quicker because they were in control and they also had choice. Do you
Yep.
feel that also applies to dogs? I mean, what is the flow on effect in terms of, okay, self-regulation, calming? Do you also feel it builds confidence and
Yeah.
optimism?
Absolutely. All of those things, Ness, confidence, optimism, it certainly builds that in dogs. And that story you just told is an analogy that I like to use because my husband's a dentist. So I like to rub that in as much as possible. Nobody likes you. Like to hold that one for sometimes. But yeah, so we do that. So say we're working with cooperative care within Freework. So the dog has that option to say, "Whoop, I want to get out of my nail trim, say. So what we do, instead of just when we do traditional positive reinforcement cooperative care training, instead of just the dog gets a treat when the dog, shows us or when it does what we want it to do, we're saying to the dog, we actually encourage the dog to make the choice to say no. It's because that's really empowering to the dog to know that they can say no, like with the button for the dentist. So we go that little bit further by having the same food that you're offering them within the free work setup so they can make their choice to walk away. And we really encourage that choice to walk away because that does build confidence and optimism, knowing that they don't have to. And I think through contra freeloading, we sort of know that dogs because of, and especially with their reinforcement history or training history, they tend to want to be with us. And we do have some games we play within free work to help encourage that dog to person bond. Like you were saying in your write up about this, a lot of people say, but if my dog's got separation anxiety, don't I want to lessen that bond with them? Well, no, because if you've got a beautiful bond, which we find free work helps with, that dog feels more confident and optimistic. So, not confident and optimistic dog's not going to be as stressed when you. I mean, that's the foundation of it. I mean, obviously you build on it, but that's the kind of dog you want to have to be able to leave at home by themselves to cope better.
Yeah.
So with nail trim, you would just we have a game called Ready. It's really simple. We call them games, but it's just like it's really simple. Treats are all in the free work setup, so they can choose to go there. And you just put a treat down and you say ready when you put it in. I sort of started with my own girl, with my dog. She's a Labrador, so she loves retrieving things out the ocean. So I'd say ready and throw it. So that was like, oh, that's a nice association. Ready means something nice is going to come. We kind of let them know just ready means something's going to come. So just ready, put the treat down after a while, and you wait for I call them start buttons. So their engagement with you, which is normally like they usually look at you and you're like, oh, okay, that means you're ready to go again. That's why it's called ready. So ready, put another treat down. Then they realize their engagement with you is their start button. And then you can start touching them in the area. Obviously, you do that very gently and approximations, you do that very slowly. Until they're kind of like, well, I can take my foot away if I want to, or I can leave it there. And they just tend to trust you, feel safe with you because you've given them those options. And that happens. It depends on the dog again, of course, and their level of trauma that can sometimes be around cooperative care. But yeah, that it tends to be that dogs will be much more accepting of touch and, doing husbandry with them from
Mm.
doing free work. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes back to secure attachment theory, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Guys,
does.
if Jessica's asked a question, so anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We might let the questions flow but I might ask the questions that we've got here first, and then we'll come back to them. So, do you
Sure.
need a lot of space to do free work?
Good question. You don't. Of course, it depends on the size of the dog. So I'll give you an example. So I do free work at clients' houses. So if you've got a Great Dane cross, which a lot of people seem to have these days, my boot is full, and I am going to need a little bit more space because we'd like the dog to be able to have the freedom to move around a station. So a Great Dane cross needs a large area. In saying that, though, a small backyard, a deck, something like that, you just do less stations because, and then of course my car's full of step ladders and, chairs and things to make the stations higher to suit that particular dog. If you've got a small dog, oh my goodness, it's so easy. You can do it in a bedroom. You can do it in a hallway, actually. You can do it anywhere. And as long as your floor is non-slip, yeah, don't need a lot of space at all.
What about the equipment? Because you mentioned some just then about your boot, car boot. Is it expensive to buy the equipment? Is there stuff you can actually make up at home that doesn't require a
Yeah.
purchase?
Yeah. You don't have to buy a thing because if you have a look around your home, you're going to have a lot of the stuff. Things you don't have to even go buy a licky mat. Things like upturned Tupperware, for example, can be a licky mat. Plastic lids can be a licky mat as long as they're stable on the surface and they don't slip around because you don't want the dog to be frightened of them. Things like snuffle mats you can make your own when you're first starting out. Things like scrunched up towels can be your snuffle mat. You can buy, bath mats that you can buy like at the cheap shops and stuff, and they've kind of got like a shaggy kind of look. That could be a snuffle mat, and you've probably got one of those in your bathroom. And for height, you can use chairs. You can get very imaginative and use all sorts of stuff. We kind of don't encourage boxes a lot. They tend to be not stable enough. But if you've got like wooden boxes, things like that, I use the car ramp that I have for the dog to a lot as a. So I put that like a bridge. So I'll have for say higher, taller dogs, I'll have two maybe upended plastic buckets that are stable and put that ramp across the top. So that makes a whole heap of stations of snuffle mats, licky mats that you can put on top of that. We can get really imaginative and creative with our free work setups.
So, what about the fussy eaters? Like,
Yeah.
because, yeah.
Do you know what? I've had so many people come to me and say, my dog's never going to do free work because they don't even like food. So, okay, but your dog has to eat, right? So, first of all, I'm going to say to those people, what are you feeding your dog? And some of those people, I'm like, oh, well, I wouldn't eat that either. And they're usually smaller dogs or dogs with gut issues. So, a lot of the times in our observations of dogs in free work, we can see that that dog potentially has gut pain. So that's a dog who's not going to want to eat much. But it's really interesting when I start putting treats in free work, the look on people's faces, and they're like, but my dog's eating. Well, why is my dog eating? It's like, because it's not in a bowl, it's not boring. And actually, the act of eating when they're in free work changes their nervous system, which helps them to calm, puts them in the parasympathetic to rest and digest. So it actually allows them to digest because they're feeling calmer. So yeah, and look, there are dogs too who you can't use food with because it's too overstimulating for them. Or dogs who have really, really terrible food sensitivities, allergies, things like that. So we can use scent and use things from the outside world. Reactive dogs who possibly can't get out, or a dog that's recovering from surgery or illness that maybe can't leave the house, bring the outside world in. It doesn't have to be food. You can put, leaves and things that smell like other dogs. I even a friend of mine is doing it for me. She's freezing horsehair, dog hair, and things like that because we know the release of the scent as it defrosts is much more um, enticing. That's without being able to find a better word. Yeah, for dogs, it releases the smell gradually rather than it being an onslaught of smell just when they come to it. So yeah, we do all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so fussy eaters, unless there's something really wrong, I find that free work will kind of change that for a lot of dogs.
So, in terms of, you mentioned the stations. I mean, how challenging should it be for the dog? I mean, we don't want it to be that challenging that the dog gives up, obviously. We
Mhm.
probably want a little bit of eustress, not distress, because eustress is a good type of stress.
Mhm.
But then you mentioned the stations. So, I mean, theoretically, how many stations could you potentially have? Like, what's the limit? I mean, again, I know it depends on the dog, but
Yeah,
and are they if they're at the beginner stage or what have you? But yeah,
correct. Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. Again, that will depend on the dog in front of us. If someone's coming to me with a really anxious dog, really reactive to people, or really scared of people, I might not even go the first time. What I might ask the person to do is just set up a chair and give them my clothes. So put my clothes like a jacket on a chair, put my shoes at the bottom of the chair, maybe put a hat that smells of me, something that I've been wearing when I've been sweating maybe a little bit. I sometimes give my pajamas because I've been sleeping in them all night. They're definitely going to smell like me.
dogs.
Not too, hopefully not too stinky, but yeah. And that gives the dog, first of all, the scent of another person, but kind of my scent. So it's got, they can work with me. And then as we come in, we may put one station in for them and then two stations. I work with the dogs, it must be a couple of years ago now, down in Brisbane at the RSPCA. And that was a delight to work with those dogs. And the girls were reporting they had, I think it was a seizure, a group of dogs that were just too anxious to leave the kennels. And after I'd showed them free work and the girls were practicing free work with maybe just one station, like they started off inside the kennel and then they cry. It's not luring, but it was kind of like leave that station, then put another station and add to the amount of stations that were there. And the dogs slowly and confidently could come out of their kennels and then start engaging in play and in the yards and things like that. So that was a really beautiful story. So you would start slow, start small, and just increase it. And I forgot the first part of your question because I remember thinking that was really great what you were asking there.
Oh, the amount of how hard should it be? As in,
Oh,
we don't want them to get so frustrated because they can't solve the puzzle that they give up.
yeah, absolutely. So that's a great point. A lot of clients I see go, "Oh, should we, tuck the treats in there?" I'm like, no, no, the treats just go on top. It's really easy. It's like as if they were foraging, and they're obviously going to try and take the things that come easier to them when they're foraging. So it's just like they're foraging. Put the food around. Don't make it hard. And I would encourage people not to use food puzzles because they can be really quite damaging to balance, to posture, uh, and to the brain. And they can be quite frustrating if the puzzle's too hard for the dog. So you see a dog, and especially if it's on a slippery surface, you see that dog, adopt that really wide stance because they have to, because they're using their paws and their nose to get into the puzzle, and they're getting like, I can't get this out all the while. Well, that's not a great posture to maintain. So yeah, I wouldn't be using food puzzles as such. And that's another thing, I used to teach people years ago, like, oh, separation anxiety, give your dog a puzzle toy. That'll keep them busy for a while. That was at the beginning of my training. I certainly wouldn't advise that anymore. But yeah, so yeah, we don't want to make it hard for them. We want to actually make it as easy for them as possible because you don't want the dog to move away from the puzzle, from the station, because it's too hard. You want them to move away from the station because it's not great. They don't like it because of how it feels for them in their body. So yeah, you don't
Mhm.
want to challenge the brain.
So say you've got, I don't know, 5 stations. Does the dog do one and then choose to go to a different one, or they might give up, or how does it work in
Yeah.
that sense?
So that's a good question too. And again, depends on the dog. I always use the word depend a lot. Depends on the
Mm.
dog. Some dogs will come in and sure, they're in there and they're having a look at each one going round and round. But then you'll see they'll stop and they'll pick the one they want to go to the most. And we do put a variety of food in there, but you'll find that they're all mixed together. So it'll be the same treats kind of in each station or licky, substance. You'll find they'll start to slow down and engage with it very much more slowly as the system, as the nervous system changes over. And yeah, then they'll sort of invest in a station at a time. If you've got a dog that never settles in it, you'd absolutely be looking at pain there, discomfort of some kind. And if a dog, um, after free work, if they're still highly aroused, still fidgety, even, you'd be looking at discomfort or pain there. A really sad story. It was a lady I see on the beach every day. had a Cocker Spaniel, and she said to me, "Oh, this dog's got the worst separation anxiety." I said, "Well, let's just start doing some free work at home." And so we were doing free work, and she said it actually amps her up. Wow, okay, that's not the normal story. Spoke to someone from the group. They said, yeah, that would pretty much to me say there's some discomfort. We don't diagnose, obviously, we just comment on what we see, but we would, think that would probably lead to, discomfort or pain. We'd be thinking that dog died of cancer 2 months later. It was completely riddled of cancer. So, yeah, that would definitely be some discomfort or pain. So, yeah, and I love talking about how long it takes for dogs to do free work. So we have seen roughly it's about 18 to 20 minutes that dogs will do it. The first time's going to be different, obviously. But once that dog's done it a few times, is used to it, about 18 minutes, 20 minutes. And they have these wonderful finishing cues. My dog does a really easy one. She sort of stops, sits down and looks at me. I'm like, right, we're done then. A lot of times we'll see a routine, a pattern of big drink of water, look again at the stations, then maybe go to the door because they want to leave. At the workshops when I went to Tilly Farm, where Sarah teaches free work, it was incredible to see some of the dogs literally going over to their leash or their collar and putting their nose towards it. And we were like, that's a big, I want to get out of here. So yeah, after about 18, 20 minutes, they would indicate to us. And that's what I love about it. It's you're watching them so closely that you're getting those signals from them.
That's interesting because, especially with Labradors, because they do love their food so much. So I would be kind of like, and we had a black Labrador when I was growing up too. But you know, would a dog like that is a bit of a food hog
Mm.
give up? If there's still food there, are they going to stop or are they going to keep going for it?
Um, I think the simple answer with a Labrador, they're going to keep going for the food. But interestingly enough, I have an area in my house that has free work all the time. I like the free work, not with food in it, but I leave it because that's another tip I would give to people when you're doing free work at home. So I would encourage you to do it more often with your dog. If you've got somewhere that you can leave the free work set up, you're more likely to do it more often. But interestingly enough, she finishes free work, comes away, but doesn't go back into that room again until I go back down there.
Mm.
So I mean yeah, there still could be food in there. And I have seen her sometimes leave the licky stuff. She doesn't go back for it. She's just done. So
Sure.
yeah, they walk away very calm. But yeah, Labradors, I think I'd have to say, and some other breeds obviously too. But yeah, Labradors, I don't think they're going to miss any opportunity to, they're not going to leave any food behind.
Guts. So Jessica asks, would you apply sound to this work?
Yeah, that's something we've discussed in our group before. Um, I wouldn't I wouldn't put it in the free work setup because once it's going, the dog has no choice whether it can hear the sound or not. So you could probably try it outside of free work and see how your dog feels about it. But yeah, once it's in the free work, the choice to leave the sound, unless they actually leave the free work and leave the room, which is something we always do, is always leave an exit point for the dog for whatever reason they need to leave. But no, I wouldn't put sound in there. And I'm thinking you're talking about dogs who are sensitive to particular sounds, whether you put that in. You could try, like, how you can record sounds of things that are triggers to dogs, like maybe,
Thunder or
I don't
something?
know. Yeah, you could try low level, like you can download those apps with sounds on them. You could try very low level and only do it for a little while, and see
Oh,
how
yeah,
your
no,
dog reacts to that.
she says I meant like a bell or something that they can choose to touch or not, a sound they can't control.
Oh, okay. No. Simple word there is no. I wouldn't put that in.
Because
Because if it's something that the dog may be triggered by, I wouldn't put that in free work.
too startling, do you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's triggering, it's startling, it's scary, and that's not what we want to do. We don't want to do things. However, in saying that, we do introduce novel items within free work. So my girl was when she first came to me for the reason that where she came from, which I didn't get her to just 7 months, where she came on was very suboptimal conditions. She was particularly terrified of small dark spaces. So I borrowed the play tunnels, agility tunnels. I borrowed one, folded it down, put it around her favourite free workstation, and then over a period of days just built it up and up until the cat swiped it, and it was all come out like that. Thank you, cat. Um, and yes, I did put a licky station in there, but before that, she would never have put her head inside a tunnel. No way. She would have run out the door. But because we put it up slowly, she could go in. She didn't have to go in. She'd get the same treats that was in the station, that was outside. She just went in, and I kind of call that curiosity actually, rather than anything else. She was just interested to see what was in there, and then once she realised that the nothing to be scared of, and then I ended up covering the end of it so it was dark as well, and she was comfortable with that because she didn't have to go in. She just chose to go in. So
Yeah.
yeah, we can, and things like equipment, collars, harnesses. I always recommend people do that with new puppies. Do it within free work. So the puppies or the dog is free to leave, but it's a really nice way to introduce them to equipment as well.
Mm. Jessica, just circle back to the digestive issues. She notices that a lot of reactive dogs that she works with have digestive issues. And
Mhm.
she usually recommends a gut test and she asks, is there anything else that can be done?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. She's right. We know now that 82 to 85% of dogs with reactive behaviours have pain of some kind, and I think gut pain's a huge one.
I
It's,
think
the gut.
the other part of that is also the gut-brain connection, because
Yeah.
if we think that reactivity is based in largely fear, mostly generalizing, of course, and
Mm,
look at that gut-brain connection, and if the gut's not right, then obviously
yep.
it's going to create more anxiety, more fear, more
Yep.
reactivity. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, a dog who's in discomfort or pain, you can do as much desensitization and counter conditioning as you like, to,
Much.
say, other dogs, but that's not changing how he feels because he's still going to have that pain unless you do something about that discomfort or pain. So, yeah, that is something you can do. You can get a gut test, like the gut biome. You can have that tested. You could, if you're not seeing pain anywhere else, like if there's no obvious pain anywhere else and you think it may be the gut, you could try changing diet. But yeah, you'd probably find out best to send a sample away and have that tested. That would probably be a quick answer to what's going on. Then you'd be looking at talking to a nutritionist, perhaps.
Mm,
And
yeah, and
yeah.
Jessica, I would also, because you're in America, so you've got easy access, but the um, the fecal transplants. So people like Dr. Odette Suter, she does them. I think there's a few over there now. And it's basically they get the fecal matter from a healthy dog. Oh, you've done that for your own. Yeah, just for anyone that hasn't heard about it. So it's the fecal matter from a healthy dog. They put it in a capsule, so you're not handling nasty stuff. You give it to your dog, and it really apparently helps them. I would be super interested. Interesting that you've tried that actually with your own dog,
Yeah.
Jessica. Yeah.
Did it work, Jessica?
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many other options, isn't there? There's a company called HemoPet, which is also in America, and they'll send you a saliva sampling thing, and you can swab the dog's mouth, send it back, and they test
Mm,
it for um, food intolerances, what they can eat, what they can't eat, and what they can eat, but at a minimal, sort of not too
mm,
much sort of thing. So that's,
yeah.
there are, and again, I think totally a nutritionist, a canine nutritionist,
Yeah.
because vets aren't, they're like any GP. They have specialist interests, and I don't think most of them really have the vast knowledge that they need to talk about diet. So,
And
yeah,
they'll admit that too. I've had vets who will admit that, that they don't spend a lot of time at vet school learning about diet.
no,
And I think too, another thing to add is sometimes a chiropractor or a physio. Well, he had
yeah,
a lot going on, so I'm not really sure he actually had lower. Yeah, okay, liver. Yeah, another thing I can recommend people to do is go to a chiropractor or a physio because an adjustment can sometimes help with gut issues. That's another avenue you can go down because the
Yeah.
whole body's connected. The whole body's connected, you know. So, yeah, a chiropractor, physio, have them have a look at your dog, maybe do an adjustment.
Yeah. But unfortunately she lost her dog. I'm really sorry, Jessica. That's
Oh, sorry.
yeah, yeah. It's hard because soft tissue pain won't be seen by a traditional vet. Yeah, it's true. I'm very fortunate here in my area. There's a chiro, which I'm scared of chiros. I wouldn't go to one myself, but this guy's really good with dogs, so it's good because sometimes vets can't even see, like you say, the soft tissue pain, but he's very intuitive and can figure all that out. Hope says, thank you. She didn't know about the freezing odor. That's a really good idea. Yeah, I like that.
I got that from when I was working with assistance dogs. They do that with for detection for diabetes, for epilepsy, things like that. So those dogs, they take a t-shirt or an article of clothing from the child or the person, and they freeze it, and then it defrosts. So they don't train on that oomph, that straight away, that smell. They train on the lead up to the seizure or the diabetic high low. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Wow. Jessica says, would gradual station application also apply to overstimulation, too much speed, or a ravenous eater?
Yeah, yeah, it would. In a simple yes.
Okay. And Eva, I like this question, says, what are the signs that the session was a success?
Oh gosh, many, many. So you let me talk about the client I just started with last week. This will probably be the easiest way. And again, it depends on the openness of the client as well as of the guardian of the dog, on the openness of them to seeing their dog and seeing a difference in their dog. Because I'm not there to fix their dog, you know. So if I come out of there and their dog still barks at the neighbour's cat, they're going to think it didn't work. So I think I have to put that part in. But yeah, last week, I had a lady call me in tears. Her dog didn't have a great beginning, was about 4 years old, couldn't take it out of reactivity, did fence running with the dogs next door, huge prey drive. Like literally every animal that came into the yard would do the complete prey sequence, even down to the kill, digest. Not a tooth, not a claw, not a bit of fur or a feather was ever left, consumed the whole thing. Right.
Oh,
So I was like, okay, I might contact a few friends in the business and ask them what they think about that before I get into this one. Anyhow, go there to meet him. He does have some structural issues, definitely. Did some free work with him. Amazing client who the husband put it this way: the husband said, and men usually do this. I'm not staying for the full hour. I've got work to do. So okay. An hour later, he was still sitting there going, "He's not barking. What's going on?" And then she sent me a video last night that made me cry, but in a happy way. Here he was. She goes, "So this is our bewitching hour when all the birds are going off. You could hear them. The neighbours' dogs barking. You can hear him. Here he is, happily just doing his free work, not even acknowledging that that's going on." She's like, "This is life changing." And it really is. But, you know, you've got to understand, you don't just do it once and they're fixed.
no.
You
That
know,
was my
it's an
question.
ongoing
How
process.
often should you do it?
It again depends how often you've got. Look, I do it every day because, and sometimes twice a day, depending what she's going through. She came to me very anxious, very, very anxious. People look at her now and go, she is not. It's like, yeah, she is. And the only way she shows her anxiety is through barking. So I'll know if she's barking a lot. She does things like eats dog poo when she's stressed, not her own, other dog's poo when she's stressed. I'll take her to the beach and she'll eat every jellyfish on the beach. They're signs that she's stressed. And we did have a very stressful couple of weeks ago, stressful time. And yeah, so I did extra free work those days. So anytime something stressful would happen, I would give her some free work. I recommend people with excited greeters or reactive dogs. Obviously, don't take your dog out while they're reactive like that, you know, and dump them in a field of other dogs or whatever the trigger is. But you would definitely do free work before you go to change the nervous system over so they're better able to cope with what's outside the front gate. Um, But yeah, you can use it to help them calm down from a stressful experience. Or if you know they're going to the vet and you know they're going to be stressed about that, free work beforehand. I always take some snuffle mats with me to the vet. And she does that, and she's really cool about that. Um, and even when we're doing, the vet's handling them, doing a blood draw or something like that, because we've done free work and we do a little bit of free work in there. And I just say, you've just got to ask her if she's ready. And she'll just go like this, okay, take the blood. She's just, and it's not just my dog. It's like all dogs can be like that pretty much, I think, if you do the work. So, yeah, sorry, I went on. But the answer is, if you could do it every day, that would be amazing. Depending on how, say, if it's a reactive dog, how reactive they are. But dogs have got to eat every day, well, mostly. Why wouldn't you put their food in free work? So I just
So
have a small setup for most
in,
dogs to have their meals from.
if you've got your station set up already, do you have to change it up fairly regularly just so it doesn't
Yeah.
get too boring for the dog? Swap things
Yeah,
around?
it's that there's definitely that component to it, the boring side of things. If you've got a Labrador, it never gets boring as long as there's food in there. But I think not just the boring side of things, but what you do is when you're watching them in free work, you see how one particular station maybe really helps with whatever their structural issue is or whatever's happening, or where they can find good balance. When you're seeing a paw in each corner kind of thing, when you're seeing that, you're like, that's what we want. Or, if your dog's really roached and you can see a nice straight top line at the station, that's the station we want. So you want to provide more stations that provide stability for them and the ability to help them feel more comfortable. So yes, you're looking all the time and you're adapting your free work to suit the dog's individual needs as far as, maybe it's structural. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we know it's working on the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
Once you do a session, say you were, I don't know, you could be going to the vets, the groomers, going out with an anxious dog, and you do the free
Yeah.
work. How long should the effects last? As in, let's say you can't take a snuffle mat to the groomers or, anything with you to the list, for whatever reason, you can't take anything with you wherever you're going.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
do it
So the dog's got to
beforehand.
fast at the vets or something. Yeah. Can't have
Yeah.
treats because they've got to
Yeah.
fast. Yeah.
So you'd maybe do it beforehand. But how long should we expect the effects to last?
Well, the effects can last lifelong pretty much
If you
because
just do
it's,
one session.
not from one session. No, you're
Right.
going to have to do repeated sessions. But what you're actually looking at doing, because it changes the nervous system, neural pathways will change with repeatedly doing free work and getting the dog, feeling much better, changing how they feel about everything.
Oh, excuse me.
So those neural pathways will change from this is how I normally react and this is now how I act. So over a period of time, and I guess again the frequency of doing the free work as well, you'll change those neural pathways over. So they, and providing you don't stress them out all the time, there's no reason why it can't be lifelong as long as you keep giving them the opportunity to do free work. And as Sarah says, why wouldn't you? It's just the nicest experience to have with your dog. I think it's helped me to be a less anxious person as well.
Yeah, and it builds your bond, as you say. So,
Oh,
Jessica, you said what had they done to make him more comfortable? But I'm not sure who she's referring to. Was it the dog in the
the dog that
backyard
I was
that was
talking about,
barking? The example, the dog with the structural issues.
and the one that the client sent me the video, that one. Yeah,
The
yeah, that
high.
one. What, free work, Jessica. That's literally all they've done is supported him with free work. He gets to do free work every day. And they changed his diet as well. Or they're they're transitioning him. He was on a really cheap supermarket. I know this is not the place to talk about nutrition, but it's, he was on a very cheap and nasty supermarket kibble. And then when I sort of spoke to them about a natural company that was close to them who had a nutritionist on board, she actually owns the raw food company. And she's amazing. What she knows is fantastic. So they were like, we used to give our last dog that sort of food. And I was like, well, let's see how you go. Because I think perhaps his eating every single bit of the animal could be because he's not getting he wouldn't be getting the nutrition he needs from the cheap and nasty food. And he
Totally.
needed, well, he was literally just fulfilling that whole dog nutritional needs for, a balanced species specific diet. So yeah, free work and changing his diet.
Yeah. I did get a question from it came through via email from a lady called Kim. Not sure if it's appropriate, but I'm going to ask you anyway. She's in Wisconsin. She's got a 12-year-old dog, freaks out, shivers, pants, trembles whenever there's thunder. So obviously noise
Mm.
sensitivities. Um, she will jump on the bed and pee on it if Kim's not around. And I'm not sure if it's a typo. She passes the floors. I don't know what that is. But anyway, then she
Paces the
says,
floors,
pardon? Oh, maybe
pacing
it's
the floor.
paces. Ah, yes, it could be pacing, yeah. She's a real basket case. Not sure if this pertains to your Q&A, but just thought I would ask.
It does. It does. Yep. I wish I'd have thought about it because I'm not technically savvy. I'm very challenged, actually. I'm over 60, so there you go. I do have a video of the neighbour across the road, their golden retriever. He's got a few golden retriever issues, the mouth, oral fixation, that sort of stuff. But he's a lovely boy. He had a pet sitter staying there this time, and the pet sitter and I became friends. And she texted me and she said, "Oh my God, I'm out of the house and there's a storm coming," because he is a blithering mess. Like literally does all the things, like the pacing the floor, the drooling, the whining, the trying to hide in places that are too small for him, everything, shaking. And she said, "Oh, I don't know what to do." So she left the key out, thank God. So I brought him home to my place across the road, put the free work up. He started doing nervous behaviors like chewing the balls in the ball pit. So I removed all that. Then he did free work and he gets on really well with my dog. And I'm so fortunate. I've got one of those dogs who calms other dogs. And so he gets on really well with her. And I've seen that calming happen before. So she did it too, which I would not recommend. Do not do free work with two dogs, especially if your dogs are resource guarders. Okay. There are certain times you can, but yeah. But this time I did because A, my dog was going to get stressed if she knew there was another dog downstairs in her free work setup. And B, I thought she did, was a calming effect upon him. If you had seen that dog and didn't know there was a storm going on, it's literally got the storm noise on the video, you would not know that there was a raging storm happening there. The dog sitter got back, took him back home. Storm was still going. She texted me video of him. He's fast asleep while the storm is still going.
Oh,
So he just needed some help. He just needed some help with his nervous system. And also, that can be the vestibular system as well that reacts to storms. So if it's vestibular or proprioception the dog's having an issue with, we can certainly put stations in the free work to help with that specific thing.
so what about with that dog, was it already over threshold before you went and collected it? So it wasn't like, oh, let's get this free work happening and then the storm comes. It was already the
No,
storm, it was already
the
completely
storm was
like losing its
building.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the storm was definitely building. How you can feel it yourself? It was definitely
Mm.
building and you can see it. But yeah, it was definitely building and I can feel it. So he came to the door with more enthusiasm than he would when he saw me usually. But I could walk him across the road without a leash. We live in a small area, so the road's this big, so there was no danger for him. But just walked him across without a leash, without a collar, anything. Didn't run off, didn't cower, didn't think, just trotted into my place. So he was not really over threshold yet. Where if he was, I have reports from other clients who came to me for that specific reason for storm phobia, who have found that whether if they're over threshold and then do free work, it can still help to calm them. But they have found absolutely the minute they even hear the weather forecast say there's a storm coming, out comes the free work, and
Yeah.
they do the free
That,
work. Yeah,
that
so
makes more
that's
sense.
definitely.
Yeah, because when they're really, really panicked and over threshold, they can't think. Their
No.
thinking brain is gone.
Oh,
Can't even
absolutely.
imagine that a dog in that state would be able to apply to the free work, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
If it's too
I
far
have
gone.
seen cases. Yeah, I have seen cases where it can, like they will engage, and for someone, they always tend to be golden retrievers for some reason. I apologise to anyone with a golden retriever. I love them, but it does seem to be them that I get. Um, Yeah, I have heard cases that it can calm them a little. It does make the experience a little bit easier, put it that way. Yeah. Yeah.
And Jessica says, how are you measuring the effects of free work when you have a dog whose triggers you can't control, e.g., apartment sounds,
Okay.
living and sounds, sensitivities, they have to
Yeah.
go out to the street to potty?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my advice there is, so I'm going to talk about reactive dogs, if that's okay, dog to dog reactive. So I would, again, like I say, never take your dog out if your dog is reactive. You can do free work at home instead for a little while. That's not, no dog ever died from not being walked. So do some free work at home, help the dog over time, adjust, change their nervous system over. If your dog has to potty outside and the triggers are out there, definitely do free work. Try to minimize its exposure to triggers. I'm imagining if your dog is, say, dog to dog reactive and there's dogs outside, it's going to be hard to get them to toilet anyway. Yeah, so do it beforehand. But what I usually do is work in the client's home for a while with the dog and then slowly bring the free workstations, bring the whole free work setup closer and closer until you can maybe take it to a local park where, say, dogs can be seen at a distance, kind of like your traditional desensitization counter conditioning. But what they're doing is they're using free work rather than they've got a choice in what they do rather than just getting a treat if they look away. And it tends to work really, really well because you're changing the nervous system in an area that used to be like quite triggering for them before. Yeah.
Joanne, sorry, Joe. You had a video you wanted to share. Do you want to?
Yeah.
I
Now,
don't know.
again, very challenged.
Hopefully,
This is just to show you, this is my girl doing free work. So let's try and share the screen.
let me just.
Bear with me, people, I swear. Where has that video gone? Of course, it's not there now, is it? Let me just see if I can find that.
Well, while you're doing that, April, how's your little puppy? Is it there? Oh, is that the puppy? That's got huge.
Yeah, she's massive. She's almost 10 kilos now
Oh my God.
in just 2 weeks.
Is she big?
But yeah, she just climbed up on me. She's due for a wee as soon as she wakes.
Oh,
So, and
God.
Winston was just barking crazy at its garbage pickup today. So I hope I'm using everything okay here and that I didn't disturb you because, yeah,
No,
he
we
was
can't
just
hear
losing
it.
it. So I think this will really benefit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not working. Hang on. Sorry, bear with me.
Oh,
Let's see if I've got it now. Oh, yes. Can you see that?
yep.
Okay, perfect. Just rewind it. So this is just my dog, just showing you what a free work kind of looks like. So they're the heights that are kind of good for her. We don't want her overstretching. So this is kind of she's got a whole heap of stations together. And then we have like little satellite stations away from it, like this one.
Nice and colourful.
Yes. That's for my benefit, I think. She doesn't see them the same as me. But you can see here, she's normally, if she's out the front there and anyone walks past, she'll bark, not aggressively, but she'll bark. So she couldn't care less if there's anyone there. You can see she's not even vigilant about it.
No. And so are you using the same type of food for each station, or do you
I am,
swap them
yeah.
out for different stations, or?
No. So the same combination of treats go in every station. So what I was actually trying to do here is do a little bit of side to side with her neck because her back end's not great, so her neck's overdeveloped, her muscles are overdeveloped. So I just wanted to do, and she just did, traditional like chin rest. which she's never been taught. So I thought, okay, let's use this as an opportunity to show how you could teach a chin rest in Freework. So she's free to go off and do her own thing.
Oh, she's got a licky thing there.
Yeah, she's got yogurt on a licky mat there.
She's like, oh yes, that was nice, thank you.
Yeah. And then she's doing her neck exercises. And it's pretty much like, oh, what have I got to do here to get another treat? But she did that. So I'm just telling her that's called chin or what, yeah. So she's learning what I wanted, but at the same time free to go and get the same treats from anywhere else in there. And that's just an example of them wanting to work with us. So what we've got here is a combination station where we put quite a few stations together. That can work if you, again, have got limited space.
Sure.
So this is her kind of, she's engaging with a satellite station, different surfaces again. We'd already been doing it for a little while at this stage. I would call that like a disengagement, like, maybe I'm done.
Dash D says, do you replenish food as the dog is working to lengthen the time that the dog can work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I do with mine is my own personal way of doing that is to play the counting game with them if you think that they're out of food and it's only been a short amount of time. So what I'll do then to encourage the bond between us to work on like recall is to play the counting game, which is an adaptation of Chirag Patel's counting game, but we only use the word one. So I just take a couple of treats. I'll walk to a station, sprinkle a couple of treats in, and as I say it, as I put them in, I'll say one. So the word one, you can use any word you like, but the word one then signifies something to them. It means something to them that food goes down every time. Then I would probably keep doing that and that as an exercise in itself, and then maybe tell them they're free to go, refill the other stations, but then go back and do the game again while there's still food in the other station. So you're really giving them choice because they can choose to go off and just graze if they want to, or they can work with you. So yeah, that's what I would do. You don't keep replenishing it. Most dogs, when the food is gone, will still keep going back to get the enjoyment they actually get from snuffling and what it's doing to their nervous system and to their body.
Deb asks, can you please elaborate on your comment about the vestibular system in relation to thunderstorms?
Yeah. So sometimes we find with dogs maybe with vestibular disease, or there's something going on with the inner ear that maybe, there may be pain in the inner ear. You will find dogs are more sensitive to sound, and those kind of dogs are going to be more sensitive to the sound of thunder and things like that. So that's not going to be so much about the barometric pressure and everything. It's about the sound of the thunder. So we can put, obviously if it's pain, and we could, there's medications, you give them medication. But otherwise, you can. When we're working on the vestibular system, I always like to think of that example of if you're sitting on a stationary train and the other train whizzes by you, for that second, you're kind of like, whoa, it's like, no, I'm not. You feel like you're moving as well. So if we give them things that move, like things underfoot, like maybe, those balls that you get in physio and stuff to walk on, or something with a little bit of movement in it on the floor, or even a licky station that maybe wobbles a little bit, it helps that eye-ear kind of thing happen, which can reset the vestibular system for them, which then helps them with the whole sound, the vestibular system. But if it's definitely an ear, if it's a medical ear thing, then that's not going to help unless you've medicated them for the pain that's caused. But yeah, and things like proprioception, where dogs don't realize what their body's doing. Yeah, definitely putting things within Freework. I use like a bunch of poles that I just throw out on the ground within Freework. She doesn't have to walk on them to get to the stations, but she can walk over them, which gives her a sense of that's where my back legs are. But she doesn't have to engage. And again, with the vestibular ones as well, she doesn't have to engage if she doesn't want to. So yeah,
Hmm.
I hope that helps a little bit.
Jessica's got an interesting question. What's the key, do you think, to getting client buy-in with doing free work enough, changing the diet to something appropriate, particularly when budget is an issue, pain, investigation? These are things I think
Yeah.
I face reasonably often. However, I'm not realizing I'm not making the most of this tool. I'm now realizing I think that should be here.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Jessica. And, a lot of people are, restrained by what the budget, allows them to do for their dog. So, if it's diet, can't afford to see a nutritionist, I would kind of say to them, could you maybe add something to that kibble? Could you maybe, instead of feeding them exclusively on raw, could you maybe feed them half raw, half kibble, something that's going to suit their budget, just so the dog at least is getting some good nutrition. For some people, it's just, why don't you add a sardine or an egg to their meal every day or something like that, if that's all they can afford? You got to suit them. And what else was your question? Sorry, about the cost of food, like changing it over the food.
Trying to get them to do free work, trying to maybe get a pain investigation. Just getting them
That's
more
really,
engaged in the process. Because I think it's a good point, because I think a lot of people, when they get a dog trainer, it's especially for in-person stuff, it's like, well, they want to hand the dog off and not really be involved in the process of training the dog,
mm,
as opposed
hmm
to being part of a team where, okay, we're going to do, is there pain? Is there something we can do about the diet? Can we add this piece of the puzzle, the free work, into the actual training process? Yeah. So
yeah.
it's can be
And
tricky.
I it is. And I think that's where our observation skills come in. So I video every session. I then take it home, put it on my YouTube so I can stick it up on the big TV. And I do it frame by frame, like literally takes me hours. I just had a recent trip to the UK and I spent most of the time, people thinking me nuts, looking at dogs moving slowly on my laptop. It was a great time to get it all in. And you can see. So when I say to that person, this, look, your dog, look at this here, I would pretty much be certain there's some pain there. And when they see it in that context, they're like, oh, okay, all right. And even saying to people things like, does your dog scrunch up their bedding? Does it turn around and round and round? Like, is it ridiculous, like every time? And they're like, yes. I'm like, well, you might want to think about gut there, because we often see that as something I can't settle because I got pain in my gut. And when you let them know their dog is suffering, or potentially suffer. I'm not a diagnostician. I'm there just to tell them what I see. Then I would encourage them to go to the vet. But things like we were talking about before, like things that the vet's not going to see in his office, I would send them with a report and a video to show the vet, because the vet will be able to see. Some vets accept that, some vets don't want it, and that's okay. Then they could maybe go to a physio who could probably help them with the issues that they're seeing in my videos. I think too, the proof is in the pudding. Sometimes, like, you actually got to see what your dog's behavior can improve from doing free work. That is probably a great way to get people to jump on board. And it's not easy. It really is not easy for those people who just got that dog trainer, like you were saying, Ness, to come and fix things. I tell people on the phone, initial phone call, I'm not coming to fix your dog. I'm coming in to evaluate your dog, tell you what your dog is saying, tell you how your dog is feeling, and then we will go from there. But I'm not going to fix your dog doing herding behaviors because your dog is a herding dog. I'm also a family dog mediator doing the Kim Brophy Legs program. I always send them Kim's little PDF about breed specific behaviors. I always send them that to start with, to say, pretty much hinting your expectations might be a little bit higher for this dog because of his breed, and I'm not going to come in and stop your dog from doing that. What we'll do is we'll work on your dog's nervous system to help them to calm, and then show you how you can use free work in the outside world to help your dog to calm when they're outside. So, that chasing turkeys, you can maybe channel in another way, but still satisfy your dog's needs to do that sort of thing.
Yeah. So Jessica had a client whose dog had persistent diarrhea. And she said it was probably the gut and the client wouldn't do anything about it. It's tough. I mean, in terms of the free work, I think even if you can't get the client on board at the start, if you've got video, before and after video of somebody else's dog, you can say, hey, this is how this helped. That
Yes.
you can't force people to go to get their dog, if a dog's got persistent diarrhea, the most you can maybe, encourage them to go to the vets, but encourage them to look at the diet. But yeah, you can't force people.
If that client had come to me, obviously you're going to say the dog needs to go to the vet. That's the first thing you're going to say. But you'd be kind of looking at the dog, doing free work to see what else is going on for that dog. That could be for so many reasons, the diarrhea, and you're going to think diet straight up. But it could be something else. Like there could be something else for the dog. So I'd be looking in there, and maybe when the client actually saw what I was pointing out to them about their dog, they may think a little bit differently about taking the dog to the vet. I don't know. Some people you'll never convince, and you kind of think, well, I don't know even why they're here with me if they don't want to do anything to help their dog. But I think we've got to first of all assume they're doing the right thing because they have called us. They do want to help their dog, and I hope it's not just because their dog's an inconvenience and they want us to fix what's inconvenient.
I mean, you do hear about it though. They literally want to give you the dog, but they don't want to do anything. You just have to fix it. Magic wand. Hope says, do you find it beneficial to add free work to regular learning / training sessions to get clients into a habit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I train assistance dogs with free work. So anything that you can train with positive reinforcement, I can train with free work. That sounds so blowing my own horn, sorry. Anything that we can do in positive reinforcement can certainly be done within a free work scenario, but you're giving them choice. So it's really beneficial for, say, I was working with this gorgeous, she's probably watching this video actually, this gorgeous Groodle, and we saw in one of his first free work videos that once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. There was an issue with his left hind. And, that turned out to be a bit of a left hip issue, but was great because it was resolved with just a bit of Medicam and some rest, But knowing that he's got that predisposition to having a bit of a flare-up in his left hip, when we went to do his second public access test, the client came to me, she said, look, he's getting a little bit reactive to other dogs. And I was like, okay, well, that tells me he's probably in some sort of discomfort. Let's think about his hip. We didn't do free work. We just met at a cafe kind of shopping center area, asking him could he do a long duration down? No, he couldn't. Was he distracted easily? Yes, he was. So I took a video of him just walking around. That's the best I could do. And you could see there was something going on because I already knew there was something going, he had a predisposition to that left hip. And bit of Medicam, again, bit of rest. He went for his second public access test. I got a text from the assessor saying, oh my God, I never thought this dog was going to go through in the first place. She said, but he's actually my most perfect dog. And it's like, well, that's just because all we did was make sure he wasn't in pain. And he's such a keen, wanting to please dog that once we got him out of that pain, he was just happy as he wants to work. He wants to do it. So he's so easy, but he's always been trained within free work. So if he wants to walk away, he can. And you get better results that way because the dog wants to do it. And I'd rather work with a dog who wants to work rather than a dog who's doing it because she's only going to get a treat if he does the right thing.
Yeah. So Jessica said, yeah, that dog, the diarrhea coincided with stressful events, or it seemed to. Hope, so you would have the setup in the training area, allowing the dog to opt for a station during the training.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just trying to think of an training example. I don't know. Can you give me a quick example of what you'd be trying to train, and I could maybe give you an idea of how we would do that within free work?
What if it
don't train
like
anymore.
loose leash walking or something like that?
Yeah. So again, I use the counting game for that. I always used to anyway, train without a leash to start with because it's just better. I just think the dog feels a little bit more choice, without a leash on. But doing it within the Freework, the dog learns the benefit of working beside you by you going, one, one, one. He's like, this kind of walking next to my person is really great. Then you would kind of take that outside of the training area, take that outside, take maybe one little snuffle mat with you until the dog was like doing it, just doing it. And yeah, sure. And the dog, it's also contingent too on your leash and your equipment and all that too, whether you let the dog sniff and that. But you're going to find the dog who has more choice on his walk too is a dog that's not pulling at the end of his leash. But yeah, sure, you could train a loose leash walk just using the counting game within Freework for sure.
It's just fascinating how much choice plays, what effect it has, and how powerful it is.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try and find it because it took me so long to find the last, but I have an amazing video. A lady who teaches all around the world about body language, and she actually does resource guarding. But I asked her, did she have any good videos on street dogs? Because I know she goes and does street dog tours. And she sent me this really great video. There's two dogs who lived in this area, two street dogs who lived in this area, and this other dog arrived. That was what they call an intruder. It didn't live there. And, if you'd have seen those dogs doing that body language with a collar and a leash and a human attached to that leash, that was going to go so wrong. But because those dogs had a choice, they could move away. There was no problem at all. They came up like what we would call it in a very antagonistic kind of body posture, body language. But because they were free to walk away at any time, which they ended up doing, there was a bit of a sniff and they went their separate ways. And that's because they had choice. To me, that's the difference. It's choice. And when we put a dog in equipment and then they're handled by us and they're controlled by us, that's where I think reactivity comes from, because we've taken the flight away from the flight, fright and freeze. And so they have to kind of choose fight, which looks like reactivity, obviously. So yeah, I think having control of what you do for a dog is really important, really, really important.
Yeah, and it's only been kind of the last few years where choice and control have kind of crept into the doggy training thing.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, like we control everything in their lives, what they eat, where they go, when they go out, everything. So they must feel like prisoners in some senses, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so you're giving them
Kim
some
Brophy,
kind
she
of
said,
choice. Yeah.
Well, Kim Brophy says the biggest problem with dogs, pet dogs these days is captivity. They're captive. That's the biggest problem you have to the hurdle. And Frank McMillan, who's like a scientist, he's an author and all that sort of stuff, he said it's the perception of choice that gives a dog a more enriching and fulfilled life. It's just even the perception of choice.
Yeah. And we also know that dogs' perception is more important than our perception of their perception, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because if there's a scary event, it might not be scary to us, but it could be to them. Jessica says, what resources do you think would be good for trainers working with reactivity in urban areas?
What resources? As in my resources that I offer?
I'm not sure. Well, while she's writing, ACE basically. Where to start?
Okay, so what you can do when as far as learning about how to apply it to reactivity, I'm guessing you're asking, is you can either jump in and do Sarah's courses like I've done. I run a course that you can join the waiting. If you go on my website, you can join.
I'm just about to put your website into the chat, but it's
perfect. Thank you.
PoorOrderNoosa.com for people that are listening or rewatching.
Thank you.
www.PoorOrderNoosa, which is
noosa.com.au. Yeah. So you can jump on there and join the waiting list for my course that I offer. It's a course. You can join the whole package, which is also workshops, and then you get a 6-month mentorship from me. So you literally send me your cases and videos. Send me videos of your cases. and then we have Zooms, and then I offer you I assess your videos, and then I send you feedback. And even if you want to, I can do like a FaceTime call with you when you're with that client and talk you through it. I offer that, and I offer you just a mentorship if you want. If you just don't want to do this, so the course actually talks you through and explains ACE Freework in detail and how to set it up and all that sort of stuff. Or you can just do the mentorship, like you just email me and say you just want to do the mentorship, and then you sign up for like a couple of times. But the most exciting thing I think is Annie from the US. She's asked me to come jump on board, and we're doing a canine communication course where she jumps in and she talks about behaviorally dog's body language, what it means. And then I jump in and I talk about, and we've got one case that we work with together. And I come in and I talk about the observations we see within Freework, and how what the dog's communicating to us when we look at them when they're in a Freework setup, which is really important. Then we kind of put the two things together and sort of it sort of changed how we're looking at canine communication as we've traditionally known it. So that's a really great course to jump into. That's running. It's actually, I don't think I've put that on my website. That's a bit naughty. My socials. If you jump on my socials, like Instagram or Facebook, which are on my website, obviously, that you'll see that I've flooded it with the links to that course.
Or they could get onto Annie's site. I imagine it's on there too. I'll just put her name
in the
chat as well.
Okay,
it's
cool.
PHENIX.
IX, yeah.
Yeah, and Annie IE. Jay says, I love hearing assistant service dogs being trained like that. Unfortunately, there's a lot being trained with prong and shock e-collars and punishment here in the US, which makes sense. You're supposed
don't worry, it happens here too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I saw it happening yesterday and I wanted to jump in and go, and so it's like, no, we've got to mind my mouth. But just seeing the way they train, foster dogs and help train dogs for an assistance company, that was not ethical. And that's kind of another reason why I got into all of this as well. It was not ethical. And I was just like, there's got to be a better way to do this, and that's why I love so much being able to apply Freework to assistance dogs. Because, the whole thing is, it's not fair.
And you'd think assistant dogs, I don't know. No, anyway, that's a can of worms we won't go down.
Oh, I know, right?
Okay, so everyone, I forget what I was going to say. Thank you, Joanne. Are there any other questions?
You're so welcome.
Are there any other questions, everybody, before we... Oh, hang on, Deb's got one. Are there any ways you incorporate breed differences in Freework using different senses other than scent, taste, such as visual?
Yeah, so what I do within Freework, I don't know if other Freework practitioners do this, but I think because I've got so many herding breed dogs that I work with, I actually put like movement puzzles, which is another... That's her trademark term, I think.
Mari Valgma, she's amazing.
I'm sure she won't mind if I mention her.
Oh, she won't mind, she's lovely.
No, so I use a few of her little movement puzzles that I do within Freework again, so it just gives them that extra bit of choice if they don't want to do it, but just things like, just to start off with that traditional, because I think, herding dogs really want to stop and start movement. So we just do that one where we show them, food in that bowl, move around the cone there, and then eventually teaching them the word around, taking that outside, teaching them around, stop, start, that sort of stuff. But you start it off within Freework so you know whether the dog wants to do it or not. So, that's what I would use for herding dogs for sure. I'm just trying to think of other games I've put in for other breeds. But, especially you do particularly want to acknowledge and cater to the breed specifics for sure.
A sight hound as opposed to, like you say, a herding breed or something.
Yeah.
But
I had a Shiba Inu the other day. Who are very independent, the Shiba Inus, and he actually just wanted the toy that I had in the game, but it helped him so much do the Freework. Although it didn't look like he was really engaged in it, he's just a Shiba Inu and they're a little bit more independent, so he actually loved the counting game so much that what I did was put a snuffle mat outside of his front yard, where we were going to take a walk because they were a bit worried about his behaviour towards other dogs. They taught him how to do this. So he would do this to other dogs, which is kind of like a little odd to other dogs. So their reception of him was a little odd. So we wanted to get that out of his repertoire. So I put the snuffle mat out there, and that was one. We worked around that for a while, being one. Took him on a long line, and all I'd say to him is one, and he'd go running back to the mat, no matter what was around him, and was like, I got the one, I got the treat in the snuffle mat. So that worked so well for him. So that was kind of being mindful of his, aloofness and that sort of thing, and just tapping into what he really enjoyed doing. So yeah, just again, it's a breed thing, but it's also an independent dog thing.
Sure. Yeah, awesome. Alrighty. Joe, thank you so much. Been lovely. Hang on. Oh, Dash says movement puzzles is another confidence builder. Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Yep,
it is amazing. Adding an opt-out free workstation is a great addition. Yes. Thank you so much, Joanne. It's been really wonderful talking to you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. And thank you everybody else for attending. It's lovely to have so many questions. But yeah. Well, next week, so a couple of things before everyone goes. At the end of the year, I am hosting a Decoding Fear and Anxiety Summit. So stay tuned. That will be details for that will be released fully mid-November, and then it'll be coming out first for me, December for one, otherwise the end of November. Next week, I have a lady called Kim on. Actually, let me just tell you what she will be talking about. Bear with me so that you know. She will be, hang on. I'm going to find it now. I can't find it. Anyway, I'll keep an eye on your emails. I'm going to another guest speaker next week, so I can't see it in front of me now. So, of course. Where is it? Oh, here we are. Here we are. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Seriously. Oh, here we go. She is going to be talking about resilience, the number one life skill that every dog needs. And she is from Building Bonds. So yes, stay tuned for that information next week. That should be a good one too. Awesome.
Can I just say, Ness, too, if everyone wants to join my mailing list, I send out regular emails as well. So they just got Joe at Pour and Order, or just go onto my website. And I send out interesting emails on Freework a lot.
Oh, and Jessica wants to know if you're on Insta.
Yes, I am. Just Pour and Order Noosa. Pour Order Noosa. Yep.
Cool. All righty. Thanks, guys. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
See ya.